Hey, what's going on, everybody? Bauer around here. Welcome back to the channel. Alrighty, now if you might remember in our last video, we ended up looking something a little bit like this. Okay, we basically roughly sketched out our roads, maybe some trees here, possibly a farm. Kind of still up in the air at this point, right? We will get into start doing some other things like actually laying down some roads, but there's going to be some tools we're going to need along the way. Okay. Now the one thing I want you guys to do, first let me explain a few things about these tools. Like if you go up to scripts, go down the map. Okay. We have, oh wait, did I do that wrong? I'm wondering if this is a little bit different because, oh no, go down to terrain. I'm sorry. We've got paint terrain by spline, place objects on terrain, and set terrain height by spline. These are the most basic versions of these scripts that you could possibly get. Okay, so we want to do a little bit better with that. Now, if I go up to window and we go down to script editor, okay, now you can see I got a decent amount of scripts in here. Let's see. I want to look at, all right, so I got a couple versions of this paint terrain by spline. Now, the way that we used to have to go through this, all right, this is the actual script itself right here. You don't want to change much in here, but what you would want to change is like the, it says right here, the left-hand texture number, center texture number. And so this is going to let us paint more than one texture at a time. Okay, so this takes it above and beyond the basic script tool. All right, so this is the way that we used to do it. All right, and it still works just fine. You can see I have a couple of them set up here, and I know what I need to change and what I don't need to change. It's mostly this area right here in the middle. But now let me show you something different here. All right, what I want you guys to do, and what we're going to do is get these tools together for ourselves so we have them. All right, so, and I know a lot of guys out there probably aren't using these tools, and you really should be. Definitely should be. Try to keep up with, who's out there. Who are the movers and the shakers, I guess, in the farm sim world. All right, so there's people out there that do a lot of script mods, that do a lot of scripting, they build tools. They're really doing some really awesome things for farm sim and for map makers and stuff like that. So one of the guys that I want to talk about here real quick is you go to farmerboysmodding.com. Okay, that's where I want you to go. It's farmerboysmodding.com. These guys are great. If you get a chance, go to this website. There's tons and tons of useful information in this site. These guys really know what they're doing, man. They've really got their act together. One of these guys in particular, this Wrinkly's Rule right here, if you spend any kind of time on the forums, on the Giants Developer Network, you'll see him there. You may not know it's him, but he's there. And I'll tell you what, the guy is awesome. Truly nice guy. He knows his stuff inside and out. He's not a bad thing to say about the guy. But anyhow, these guys have a lot of these script mods. They improve upon these mods to make our lives easier, and it's much appreciated. Okay. So have a look around their site, do a little bit of digging. You can find out some information about textures. You can find out a lot of the tools that we're going to be using. You can see here they got DEMs and borders, done the easy way. We're going to get into a little bit of that because most of these techniques here, now I know a few different ways to do a few different things. Okay. But a lot of the techniques that I stick with to this day are techniques that these guys either developed or improved upon. Okay. So one of the tools, anyhow, if you go down here, if you're right when you log in on their main page, if you go down to topics here, you can see updated spline, CSV height, paint, play scripts, etc. You want to click on that. Now, before you do any of that, this is kind of like Giants Developer Network. You're going to need to be logged in, which means you're going to need an account. So set yourself up with an account with these guys. I'm sure they're definitely going to appreciate, any extra traffic that they get, because like I said, if you look through here, I mean, they spell everything out. They explain everything really nice to you, how to use these tools. All right. But anyhow, here's the updated splinescripts.zip is what you're looking for. Now, if it says unavailable below there, that means you are not logged in. So make sure you create your account and log in. Once you log in, you can download that. Once you download it, all right, it's as simple as what you want to do is you want to go over to your C drive. Okay, and this is after you download it and you have the zip file. Go to users, pick your username, go to app data, local, and then look down your list here and you'll see your version of the Giants editor, newest version, editor 9.0.3. And then there's a scripts folder. All right, just boop, kind of I stick the whole folder in there, right? The entire folder, because this way it's going to be separated in a folder when you get into your editor. Like if you look here in my editor, when I go up to scripts, I got a whole separate folder here called updated spline scripts, right? And that keeps them separate from the rest of the mishmash I got going on there. So you can do that. If not, you can take them out of that folder and you can just put them in here with the rest of them, okay? And that's after, you sign up, become a member of the site, you can download them. All right, so what are these scripts that we're talking about? Hold on, let me get rid of my VPN hanging out down there. So what are these scripts that I'm talking about? What do they do? All right, so most of these scripts here are going to allow us to either paint by spline or affect the land surface. Well, like I said, affect the land surface. We'll be able to raise the terrain, lower the terrain, anything we want. And we'll be doing that with splines. We're going to do a lot of work with splines because I'll tell you what, it makes things so much easier. And why not? If there's an easy way to do things, let's do it. So let me give you a quick run through here. Let's see. Let's create a spline really quick. All right. Create a spline. Okay, and there's my spline already. It's already down here at the ground zero. Actually, let me Control B, interactive placement. There we go. All right, now the thing with splines is when you're working with splines is you never want to rotate that spline. And what I mean by that is when you have it selected, you do not want to rotate it. Like say you want to lay your spline going from side to side here, and your spline, right, is pointing on a diagonal from the direction that you want it to go. You never want to grab that spline and just spin it to the way you want to go. You don't want this rotation, any of these rotations, you want to keep those at 0. All the time, they should be at 0. It goofs up a lot of scripts. Some scripts don't work right. You run into problems with your traffic systems. And even Spline Street Constructor, you're going to have problems with that. It's not going to work. It's going to get errors. So always make sure that you are at 0. Okay. Now, Spline Street Constructor is going to be a little different. You're going to need to go in the direction of the blue arrow. Okay, well, if my start's up here, my end's down here, and that's what that is right away. The S and E is for start and end. All right, what you want to do is just kind of click close to that S up there, right? Get close to it. Okay, now we selected it. Okay, now you could actually Control B, right? Or just drag it if you want. Just kind of drag it to where you want it. Kind of like that. There we go. And now you got more of a straight line. So when I click on that spline now you can see I'm relatively lined up with the with this blue arrow. All right, so if you think this tail end here, because there's a control point here, right? This control vertex right in here, and between there and this E, it's a little out of whack. So I'm not necessarily straight on this area right here. So what you could do is just delete that, and that next vertex becomes your endpoint. Okay, so to be able, like I said, to be able to move your spline in different directions, just click the vertex you want and just drag it any old way that you want it. Okay, see, I can get it to go any way I want. And no matter which way I pick, okay, look like this, I didn't affect my rotation at all. And that's very important, all right? So that's one thing to keep in mind with splines. All right, so now I can insert, and I can insert another control, I call them control points, but it's a control vertex. Now we can Control B, and all the way down there we go. Okay, so now what is it with these scripts that we wanna talk about? All right, So if I go up to scripts, go down to my updated spline scripts, that's where I have it. Now we're going to paint by spline, so we're going to go to terrain paint setup. We'll click on that. Now it usually helps if you have a console window open. So if you go down to console, have that open. Now as I scroll down, when that set that up, all right, let me go down a little bit further. What it did for me, if you can see it right here, it helps if this console's a little bit different. Like if I have it, I'm not sure where I can put it. That would be good. Over there maybe, and then I could drag it out. Okay, so let me go down a little bit further now. There you go. All right, so if you look here on my right-hand side, where my new console is, it actually listed all the texture numbers for me. So my texture number 0 is my Animal Mud 1. And then you go down here, I can see my capitalized ones, my combined layers. So my Animal Mud is texture number 61, right? So it's listing all of my textures that I'm currently using in the map. And it's important because you're going to need these IDs. These are the ID numbers. The texture numbers are your IDs. You are going to need these. All right, and it's awesome that they included this in here because up until this point, I had an entirely separate script for this called terrain layers, right? And I would run that, and then it would tell me, you know, what my script or my oh man, see, I'm telling you, every video it happens, every video, what my terrain texture IDs are. That's what I had to run. Okay, so anyhow, it did a few other things besides just that. All right, so we'll go to our windows again. Let's hit user attributes. Wow, look at this. It's pretty awesome. Now, you got to have your spline highlighted to be able to see this right here, okay? It says terrain paint. Now, we can set our center texture width. All right, so we're just going to throw out some random numbers there, right? Just to kind of play around with this thing just for a minute. All right, so we'll set that, let's say 5. All right, our edge texture, all right, and that's, we'll do 2. Now it wants to know the edge texture. Which texture are we going to use? Let's look through our list. Let's say, I'm not sure. Actually, let me reverse this. Actually, let's make our center texture width 1, and we're going to make our edge textures 5. Okay, we're going to do that. Now, our edge texture left, let's make that dirt. So we're going to make that 63 because we just looked that up. And I also want to do that with my right texture. I'm going to make that dirt as well. Now, our center texture, I am going to make, let me see, how about grass dry, right? So that's texture 66, okay? And then this distance between textures, we'll leave that be. Now with our spline highlighted, we just go to scripts again. Okay, go back to that folder and go to terrain paint. All right, let's go down there and see what it did. Okay, that's pretty cool. So it made us kind of like a little bit of a dirt road with a grass strip down the middle, right? That's pretty neat. You know, it's kind of looks roadish. It's not so bad. And there's lots and lots of uses that we have for this. Like I said, we can affect the ground surface if we want to. We can, you know, make elevation. There's a ton of things we can do with the script. So I can't say enough about these guys. They did an absolutely fantastic job with this script. And as mappers, I personally can't appreciate it enough. I mean, I thought, you know, the last version of the script was great, and they just outdid themselves with this. It's really, really nice. So, you know, that what you've seen here in a matter of seconds, you know, putting something down like that as compared to, you know, having to paint all that in by hand. Oh, heck, man, it doesn't get any easier than this. All right, so that's kind of what this video is all about. It's just to go out there, go to Farmer Boys Modding, right, and grab these scripts for yourself, because we're going to be using them. You're going to need them for this part of the tutorial. And I promise, once you learn how to use these things, and we'll go over them again. That was just kind of a rough intro to show you, to kind of explain to you what these scripts do and the way we're going to be using them, why you need these scripts, okay? Like I said, we'll get into them. I'll teach you everything you need to know. Don't worry about it. As we go along, I'll show you the ins and outs of these, and many, many maps down the road, you will still be using these tools. I promise you that, because they're lifesavers. And there's a lot of guys out there that are not using these tools. Maybe once these videos get a little more popular, they will be, but right now, you'd be surprised the number of people that aren't using these tools. So let's be the kind of mappers that are out there. Like I said, we're on the cutting edge of mapping tools. You want to be one of the movers and shakers, right? Of course you do. Alrighty, so like I said, get over there, grab these tools, and these are definitely tools that we're going to be using. Oops, you know what? I should have probably moved that back down to where it was. Kind of neat though that these windows, you can move these windows around. It comes in super handy. Right, I always keep mine on the bottom for whatever reason, but it comes in really handy being able to dock those windows anywhere you want them. All right, so that was really neat. And I'll show you a few more things when we get into it and we actually start working with these splines. Okay. Now, if in between now and my next video, if you guys want to start goofing around and you want to do anything like, maybe laying down some buildings or whatever, that's entirely on you. The one thing that I want to get out there quickly before you start doing all of that stuff. Let me put my brush over to square, pick a brighter color that you guys can see. All right. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to put that down real quick. And this is just a quick tip that when we lay down houses and you lay down just about anything, your barns and fences and stuff like that, this square here faces a natural direction, right? So go to create transform, create a transform group, and I'm going to plunk that down there. Okay, see how this blue arrow faces like a north-south, and then the red is an east-west. Now I don't know if those are the actual directions. I might have those a little bit backwards there, but it's a lot easier if when you lay stuff down, if you lay it square compared to what you see here. Okay. And what I mean by that is if you need to, you can use your snapping tool here. So if you want to lay a house down, right, let me see if I can find a house quickly so I can show you what I'm talking about. Get me off of this tool here. And I was digging around a little bit on this map earlier, and I noticed that there's some miscellaneous objects that still need to come off of here. I know there was a house on one of these edges up here. So let me find it quick. It was on that other, of course it was on the other edge, all the way across the other side of the map. Okay, so that house there. Come on, give me the house. Okay, all the way back over there to my square. All right. Okay, so here we go. So now let's lay this house down. Ooh, well, the house is very small compared to that square. See what I mean about, everything being... The perspective is a little bit off. All right, so I have the snap mode on here. It's not quite getting exactly where I want it, so let's turn that off. Okay, there we go. And all I'm trying to do is I'm basically squaring it up like this, right? And the reason for that is, okay, so you put this house here, right? So let me click off of that. Now, say I want to put a street. Now, it's not really the front of the house, but let's pretend. Okay, let's not pretend it is. I am way too anal to be able to do that. Man, that is definitely one of my downfalls. All right, go back to residential home. Oh, wrong button. Man, get it together, Bauer. Get it together. Yeah, I got OCD pretty bad. These guys will figure that out pretty soon. All right, so is that the front of the house yet? Sure, that looks pretty good. All right, so now you want to make a... Let's say maybe you want to put in a driveway. You want to put in a street going in front of the house. Okay. Let's click off of there. Let's get back onto our tool here. Make it much, much smaller. Whoa, boy, that worked pretty quick. All right, so now to lay this street going in front of the house. Now, oh my God, don't mind my sloppiness there. But do you see what I mean here? Making a street is really easy to do if everything is square. You know, same thing if you wanted to put a driveway in there. You know, it's as easy as just coloring it in there like that. All right. So if we take that same house, all right, let's pick that house. Okay, we're going to move it to a different location, which is over here. Okay, now we're going to turn it like so, like maybe like this. Alrighty, now let's put that same house or the same road and the same driveway going across here. Now, I mean, obviously, if you do it right, it's not too bad, but it also depends on the angle. Like this has actually turned out to be a pretty semi-easy angle to work with. So like I could actually straighten it out, make it more of a mess than I am anything right now. But I could clean that up and it still looks semi-okay. But the whole point here is just to be conscious of which way you lay things down, because sometimes it's a lot easier, you know, making a straight line this way than it would be like this way if you had it laying down, or this way, or, you know what I mean, what have you. So it's not always going to work out that way. It's not. Now me, sometimes I try, sometimes I don't. I don't play by the rules. I just do things however the heck I want to, and they generally look okay, but it's not always so easy to get them that way, right? Sometimes, you know, I'm fighting with it and I'm irritated and ticked off by the time I'm done goofing around. And, you know, so whenever you can, be conscious of the natural direction, right? Of the north, south, east, west, and try to run things or orient things to use that direction to your advantage. Like I said, to make your painting a little bit easier, just make your placement of things a little bit easier. It's going to save you some headaches in the long run. And like I said, it's not imperative. It's not like the utmost important rule that you follow that, you know, that natural north, south, east, west. You don't have to, but it does make things easier. You know, when you can, be conscious of it, right? You know, I break that rule tons and tons, but it does cause headaches sometimes. All right, so that's kind of what I wanted to go over in that tool. Like I said, I just wanted you to grab those scripting tools that you're going to need. And if you want, you know, by all means, go over to their website. You know, until the next video comes out, go over to their website. There's full directions on how to use these tools. All right, so you can go over there and you can look through the instructions, the directions there, and a little mini tutorial, I guess you could say. Look through it, you know, acquaint yourself with the tools, familiarize yourself with it, and who knows, by the time, you know, I get the next video out, maybe these guys are going to be already masters. You're going to be champs at using that tool, right? So there are going to be certain tools that we're going to use along the way, and I will put their link in the description just in case anybody forgets. This way you can zip on over there and get what you need, okay? But like I said, that is going to happen a lot throughout the series and throughout some of my other tutorials. Or, you know, we're going to use some scripts to get some things done. Scripts that you probably don't have. And if I can't find the place where they're available for download, I will get them to you one way or the other. You know, even if I need to retype it, copy, paste, whatever, and you can just, you know, do the same thing, just copy it over into your scripts. Okay. But, you know, why beat yourself up and do things the hard way when, you know, there's people out there putting a lot of work into these scripts and tools to make our lives easier. And it does. It makes our lives easier. Okay. So that's basically all I really wanted to touch on in this video. Like I said, I don't want to drag this out a lot further than it needs to be. Go ahead, get yourself those scripts, play around a little bit. And when we come back in the next video, we'll start using that tool a little bit. We'll go over what does what, get yourself acquainted with that. And then maybe we'll start, you know, working on some roads or paths or something like that. I'm not sure yet. But go ahead and, like I said, get yourself acquainted. Grab the tools, get yourself acquainted, play around a little bit, and it won't be too long before I'm back with the next video. And with that being said, I am Bauer Brown, and I will see you on the next one.